Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV and to the newest road circuit to join the iRacing service. We're at the Circuito de Jerez in Spain. Really fantastic, pretty much historic track as well. Famous, of course, for hosting the Spanish Grand Prix in the 1980s and the European Grand Prix in the 90s. Now famous for being one of the premier tracks of motorcycle racing around the world. But this time we are, of course, racing Porsche Cup cars. It's the Aussie Online Gaming Porsche Cup Season 7 with the next round of the championship here due for two 17-lap races. Thanks very much to Bowler Media for supporting this series, and of course to my co-commentator Ross Rizzo. I'm Reese Gardner. Jay Kennedy is behind the scenes on production here. Oh, Ross, we finally get to see some Porsche action at Jerez. I've been looking forward to this round for quite some time. Drivers have been talking about how it's difficult to pass around here, but there are still some overtaking opportunities available around this flowing lap.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, naturally, with a new circuit. And for those who are sort of familiar with Jerez, it is very tight. It's very technical, and it's quite scary. We'll be honest. And these tracks, these cars, as we've seen, they've been very difficult to handle. So introduce a new track that's quite difficult, and you can see from the layout here a couple of small squirts on the throttle down those straights with a lot of long loaded corners that these cars sometimes don't like, with that rear end of the engine creating sort of a pendulum effect. So this should be quite interesting to see which drivers have got this technique nailed down, Reese.
Yeah, indeed. You will note that we are not using the center chicane at the location of Turn 11. We're running the motorcycle layout of the Circuito de Jerez. This place has been around, of course, since the mid-80s. It's had one layout change over that time. And, wow, just like that, Mr. J. Kennedy shows us exactly what the track used to look like there. That flowing Turn 5 was introduced in the early 1990s. And a little bit of a hot take here, Ross. I think that's actually an improvement. Less corners, of course, but a really lovely flowing corner to take us onto that back straight.
Certainly does, Reese, and it opens up a potential passing opportunity from 5 into 6 with that extra, with that longer main straight, I would say, where turn number 6, famous collision between, was it Villeneuve and Schumacher, being a very, very telling point of that season and even their respective careers.
Yeah, exactly. That was a very controversial incident indeed, and I mean, we look at that very corner now as the second group of cars is out in qualifying at the moment. Here is how the championship standings look going into this round, and looking at that points gap, you'd think we might as well give Bo Albert the championship trophy already. He is almost double the points of anyone else in the pro standings, but behind him, it's looking pretty close. I can see that Bowler, Thomas, and Hinz not separated by much.
Exactly that, Reese. Like, Bo has been the class of the field and currently still undefeated, just an unbelievable run of form. But we've seen challenges from Thomas and Bowler that kind of belie that points gap. I think there might have been an absentee sort of round, but they've been keeping him honest when they've been on the track. And Bowler has actually, if anything, been slightly better in qualifying. So I'm wondering if he'll be able to ruffle up the feathers and put it on the front row.
Yeah, I'm certainly wondering too. Pro-Am Championship is a little bit closer. Tyson Broad still has a fair margin over Sean Linsell, but once again, the battle for third on back is almost where it's at. Lazarus, Peterson, Dawson, very close together between 320 and 360 points, and we also see that Gordon Ramsay doesn't have much of a gap over Sam Sproul either, so there's a lot of potential for jostling at this round.
Yeah, that championship's been wonderful, seeing the different drivers taking to the front. And here we are with the AM Championship, a kind of a similar situation to the Pro one, with Steve Tonkin way out front. He picked up a pair of outright top 10s in the last round, thanks to probably mostly due to the reverse sprint, but was able to hold position among the guys in the higher class. So Steve Tonkin doing a fantastic job leading this AM class. And Clark and Lawrence, who have also been quite impressive in this class too, they have a bit of work to do to try and bring back that gap to Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see how the standings look next round's broadcast, because there's a lot of potential for moving around of positions in this format. We have, of course, those two groups in qualifying, half of the Pro-Am class, and then the Am class and the Pro class, respectively, taking part in those sessions, and two 17-lap races with no required pit stops. An out-and-out sprint here at Jerez. And we see Bo Albert weaving down the front straight on the way to his first corner there, already taking provisional pole position here as the times start flowing in, with Wayne Burke now taking the provisional pole position there. Good stuff from Burke, and it's been pointed out by league admin Dan Yeaman for our benefit that Matthew Bowler and Thomas Hinds are not present at this round tonight, so that could potentially be a free kick to Bo Albert at the top of the championship standings. But considering Josh Thomas's pace in practice, he was the only driver in the 1 minute 39s, we might see a proper race for the lead here.
Oh, he'll be relishing the opportunity to be able to stick it to Bo Albert. We're on board with Sebastian Flock heading down the back straight into turn number 6. Let's see where he picks up the brake. Nice and deep, about 130 meters. Is he going to make the apex? Oh, beautifully. Slows it down. Absolutely lovely. Squeezes on the power. The car wants to disagree with it. And now here's some of this double long left-hander here. Very, very beautiful car control. Now the car want to dance a little bit on the rear, a little bit, using the revs and the engine braking to arrest the car speed. And you can see the Synergy Sim Racing car up ahead really struggling with the same piece of track. Seb Flock, just a little bit of understeer here, but otherwise a very strong lap so far from Flock.
Yeah, looking good. Flock was having some real-life hardware problems on the way into this round. He was actually setting up a new rig, and he wasn't even sure if he could make it tonight. Well, he ended up getting P2 in practice, so obviously it's already given him a little bit of a pace benefit. So let's see what Flock can do towards the end of this lap. Ben Peterson moving up to third place in the meantime. Josh Thomas goes to provisional pole, and Sebastian Flock ends up going to 6th as a result of that slightly off-kilter lap. I think that was a really good demonstration of how these long flowing corners really put an emphasis on car control. It's a smooth circuit. There's there's plenty of grip available out on the racetrack, but it's still very easy to overcook the fronts into some of these turns.
You can see from the laps we've been using, they use all of the road. Like, look at this from Bo. No millimeter spared using the extra runoff and AstroTurf. Just got to open up as much of these corners again. And look, he'll almost touch the gravel trap. And Peterson and the drop bear car behind following suit, opening up the corners as much as we can. I think that it's quite interesting to see this. We have seen it quite a bit throughout the series, but with a track like this, we've not seen it to this extent. As that adage goes, you give drivers an extra inch, they'll use it. And this track absolutely putting that on full display here.
Yeah, the off-track rules are quite liberal at this circuit, where there is green painted concrete and astroturf and stuff like that. You can actually put two wheels on it. As long as you keep two wheels on the curbs, you're good at this place. Albert out of the final corner then, using again all of the curb. Run to the line. Let's see if he can take provisional pole back. 1 minute 40.5, and that is good enough for pole position there. But it's only 0.04 of a second ahead of Josh Thomas, and we saw that Albert got a bit of understeer on that lap as well. So no driver is safe from the front washing out.
There's a nice 3/10 gap from the front row, but mind you, that is to just a call out here to Stuart Ellis, who is our Pro-Am professional pole sitter, and that quickly changes to Corey Lazarus. So these Pro-Am guys kind of showing it how it's done, with the exception of the front two at this point. So very, just excellent to see this level of competition from the guys in the middle class. We see another one occupy the top 10. There's only 4 pro drivers in the top 10 right now. The Pro-Am's absolutely doing a sensational job tonight, Reese.
Yeah, that's really good to see. Lazarus and Ellis, they'll be probably looking at an overall podium tonight if things go their way. Well, let's see how Josh Thomas goes towards the end of this lap. Almost flat out through that left-hand kink and then into this long left that actually opens up a little on exit. You can get on the throttle much sooner than you think through that corner, and then immediately on the brakes again for a double right. This is the place where a lot of drivers have experienced understeer, but it looks like Thomas has got that one under control, but he has to pull out of it. He abandons that lap. I think he might have gotten an off track there.
Yeah, few cars are boarding in their laps there, so I think that would be what happened. And here we have Simon Mazzomo on screen right now through that section we were just talking about. Needs to use probably more of the road from what we've seen here, this understeery corner that we've been seeing, and another car pulling over as well. But that won't bother Simon Mez here on board again, right up to the gravel trap here. Will he grab fifth just before here? No, uses the engine braking to help settle the car on the front here. Grabs fifth, throws it over the right here, and then heavy on the brakes as we go into the final corner. Oh, he looks like he's a bit wide, hoping for the late apex. There it is. Gets on the throttle nicely, unable to use all the road like we saw Bo use, but see if that costs him any time as he comes to the line. It looks pretty decent, and it's only a 1 minute 42.1. So hopefully he'll be looking to improve there. It's currently 7/10 off the pace.
He might have laid apex the final corner to commit to this lap. We'll see what happens. Mazzomo, of course, the reigning Pro-Am class champion. Sam Spruill, meanwhile, in 5th place right now. And things looking interesting from his perspective. Actually, I'll correct that. He's actually in 7th from what I can see. That's 5th in class. Take it easy over this curb. Yeah, he ends up... Oh, wow, he's actually rounding out the entry to that corner very nicely. Keeps it on the track as well. They're almost effectively one corner at this point, those double right-handers, which I think is a big part of why drivers are saying this is going to be a race where it's very difficult to pass. Lots of flowing corners. Yeah, you do have the dry sack hairpin. You do have the final hairpin for overtaking opportunities. But a big part of that is making sure you get a good exit from the corners before. And the corners before the hairpins here are fast.
And traction often not not cooperating with these cars at the best of times. So yeah, we were discussing off air, how creative and how aggressive some of the driving will need to be to make passes. Unless the alternative is to stay single file. We don't want that. We're here to race, so we're going to probably see some more aggressive driving as we've seen all season long so far. Josh Thomas on screen so far, very strong P2, but he is so tantalizingly close to P1. Not going to take much at all to grab that final spot. We have a replay on screen here. Reese, you take us through.
Yeah, indeed. And oh, yep, that's one of the ways it can go wrong. That's Josh Van Treek going for a spin. ended up, I think, maybe getting a little bit too much curb on the inside, or the rear getting unsettled on the way through. That kink is flat out for the most part, but you have to nail your steering input. Oh, Josh Thomas still on a quick lap here. Let's see if he can get it done coming towards the end of the lap. This is the turn where Van Triek spun. It looks like Thomas is nice and stable through there. He only has to make up 400ths of a second. Oh, he's gearing up for another one. Okay, he's aware that he only has 400ths of a second to make up to get overall and pro pole position here. And he is throwing everything at this track to try and get that done. How does Sam Sproul do meanwhile? Looks like he's gearing up for another one as well. I was looking at him on my end, and I noticed he was having some trouble with the brakes locking up, so he's abandoned this lap, and we'll see if he can continue to improve. Under 5 minutes remaining in the qualifying session, and we are running the heat format, so it's going to be a hard cut to the end. Drivers have to start their final lap before the clock hits about 1:41.
Yeah, it makes the timing very, very tight. It's a similar lap time to what we've seen in rounds 1 and 2 from the Hockenheim Ring and at Imola. And those wide lines, I was almost thinking they were going to take the MotoGP long lap penalty, and starting to think there might be some merit to even doing that there, provided there isn't a slowdown penalty or anything of the sort here. Look at this aerial shot from Hayden Veld. Missing that apex, unfortunately, quite a bit. Had the pleasure of bumping into Hayden Veld at the Grand Prix over the weekend. Really, really nice kid, and he'd be looking forward to trying to add to his repertoire of good tracks. He's claimed Sandown is his only good one. But we've seen him put in some good performances this season. But P7 in Pro, towards the back end of the field, he'll want to try and move that Synergy Sim Racing Porsche forward where it belongs. He's gearing up for a lap now, as well as finishing this one. This will put him almost identical to what he did previously. So at least he's consistent, but hopefully he can find a little bit more.
Josh Thomas still looking for more here on the exit of the final corner. He's gearing up again and again and again. He is not happy with the pace of that car right now. Corey Lazarus, meanwhile, on a good lap, but unfortunately bins it. Just went a little too wide out of the right-hander. I think he might have just avoided the tire barriers, but that is going to be lap over for him. And at this point, I don't think he'll be able to make it over to do another one at this stage unless he commits to the end of that lap. So now we look at Sean Linsell, one of the many ERT cars in this session. 141.19, and he only has to make up 400ths of a second to overcome Tyson Broad. That looked like a pretty clean exit out of the final hairpin. Is this going to work out for him? It is! Excellent stuff. Sean Linsell moves up to 3rd overall, and that is Pro-Am pole position for the time being.
Fantastic work from Sean with the small margins towards the front end of that field. Only 600s covering the top 3 in that field. So they'll be keen, Linsell will be keen to respond here. Here comes Veld again with this de facto long lap penalty. This will be his final lap. He's only going to have 2 minutes on the board as he crosses the line. But his season has been marred a little bit by some subpar qualifying. He was able to recover really, really well in the Hockenheim Ring. But unfortunately, it's not really helped where his pace should be. So we'll see if he can improve from here. Here comes Tyson Broad now. P7 overall, P5 in class. Absolutely magnificent championship that he's putting together. This will be his last lap. Nice exit onto the main straight. What can he do? This will be an important lap to try and get among the Pro-Am leaders. That looks very strong. Or is that a wrong lap?
That is off track on that lap.
And that will pay at the end of that one for, unfortunately, there. Bo Albert back on screen. Will he hang on for pole? This will also be his last lap. It's very, very tidy. You can see when Bo's at the wheel, there doesn't seem to be any argument or protest from the car. He just seems to be so comfortable with what he's got underneath him. Seeing him on screen now, the focus and determination. Look at the feedback as well, just down the straight from the car, and then under brakes it wiggles a little bit more, and with all the steering lock that he needs to put into that hairpin Again, using all this road that we've seen so far this session, Reese, but it's looking like a strong lap. If Josh Thomas has time to respond, he's going to have to put in one hell of a lap.
Yeah, well, he won't have time to respond. Josh Thomas gave up and went back to the garage. He's doing practice starts at the end of pit lane now. So Bo Albert has pretty much secured pole now for the time being, unless there's a surprise from one of the cars behind. But nah, Albert goes a little bit too far off the edge of the racetrack, but you can see he's satisfied, he's happy. He has got pole position for round 4 of the AOG Porsche Cup. Only 10 seconds left in the session, and the rest of the drivers out on track will not be able to finish their laps here. Session hits 0, and we can move on through to the first of our 2 races tonight. It will be headed up by Mr. Bo Albert, with Josh Thomas joining him on the front row of the grid, only 0.04 of a second separating them. Then we have Sean Linsell taking the Pro-Am pole position, starting alongside Corey Lazarus on row 2. Stuart Ellis starts car 73 out of 5th overall alongside Aidan Coote. It's an ocean of Pro-Am cars here in the top 10. They're followed by Tyson Broad and Sam Sproul. They're followed by Joshua Van Schreek and Simon Mazzomo to round out the top 10, Ross.
Now in 11th place, we have Sebastian Flock and Ben Pedersen, who's been featuring very well in these Pro-Am races. Very keen to see how that battle resolves itself. Then we have Wayne Burke, a little bit slightly disappointing qualifying there. And then Mickey Hanowick, be keen to get into the top 10 from there. Then behind them, Josh Lane, the first of our AM drivers. So fantastic pole position for Josh Lane, ahead of Ryan Jones in P number 16. Then we have Martin Lofthouse, followed by Hayden Veld. Another disappointing qualifying for Hayden, but he'll be one to watch during the race. Then we have Alan Dawson and David Clark rounding out the top 20, Reese.
They're followed by Riley Bilson and Stefan Lawrence. Bilson, of course, successful in dirt racing, with Nicholas Garriott, last season's AM champion, starting alongside Isaac Edwards in car 15. Patrick Harding, the last driver to set a qualifying time, he'll be starting alongside the number 43 of Dylan Shepherd. And then we have Steve Tonkin taking up the final spot on the grid, of course. Race control operating in the McLaren 570S GT4 cars. If there is a big enough incident out on track and a driver has to make a move back to the pits, they'll have to request a tow from race control, and that will mean that the manual safety car will be taken out and will compress the field. Here we go then, just a few more seconds to go before the revs rise and we get ready for our standing start here. Bo Albert on pole position. It's a very staggered grid here, so Josh Thomas has to get one heck of a start. We are away. Green flag flies, and Albert, with a puff of smoke, gets a pretty good start, but the 2 ERT cars behind got slightly better launches. Sean Linsell will almost be looking at 2nd overall here, but he pulls away from it and lets Thomas go. There's the over-under from Thomas. He goes for the lead as there's a crash in the midfield. That is Simon Mazzomo off by the side of the circuit, and wow, Josh Thomas into the lead. We have a drop bear car hit off, and that's Aidan Coote. It's chaos here on the first lap. But what a brilliant move by Josh Thomas to get the late apex from turn 1 and straighten it out. More spinning in the background. No one, it seems, is surviving lap 1 here. Sprawled across the track was Stuart Ellis.
My goodness, that all just exploded so quickly. Josh Thomas continues to lead. Look, they're weaving down the straight just to get temperature into these tyres here. That's been a massive factor in this, in the chaotic start. Cars unable to get the cars stopped or turned. So yeah, wild start here, but Josh Thomas continues to lead 0.9 of a second. Then Wayne Burke up into Pro P3, not outright P3. Sorry about that. But yes, wild start here. Here's Wayne Burke, actually, the aforementioned Wayne Burke, and working on the back of Tyson Broad and Ben Pedersen close in behind Reese.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty close battle there. As we check back in overall positions, it looks like Stephen Tonkin is having quite the fight with Stefan Lawrence. Tonkin, starting from the rear of the grid, he's already made up quite a few spots, and we see some side-by-side here, trying their best to work things out. It's Hayden Veld on the outside of Martin Lofthouse. He's going to have the inside for the final corner unless they make contact, and oh, Veld holds on to it. as they get onto the brakes for the final hairpin. A massive lockup, meanwhile, from Stefan Lawrence, and he goes spearing straight off the racetrack.
Oh, that could have ended so much worse than it did. Hats off to everyone involved in that one. Fantastic side-by-side racing between Lofthouse and Veld too to keep that together. Look at this from Josh Thomas, comfortably looking like he's pulling away here from Bo Albert. Sean Linsell with a lot of company behind him in forms of Corey Lazarus. Oh, and Bo Albert. Big wide moment there. A look on the inside here for Corey Lazarus. He's going to get that done. A late move, but have a look for the switchback here. He lets the car understeer wide and actually does a great job to sort of short-term counter this. So Linsell's going to have to try the outside here at this hairpin. Not liking the odds, but he's going to try deep anyway. But fantastic setup there from Lazarus to get the Pro-Am lead for now.
Oh dear, we've got a car off. That's Riley Bilson. He was 9th in the pro category, but it looks like a bit of an issue there for Mr. Bilson. And wow, that's a real shame. Oh dear, we see Martin Lofthouse off as well at dry sack. Oh man, it seems like this is turning into a race of attrition for now. Let's see what happened to Bo Albert here. You pointed it out, Ross. He's having some trouble with that car. It's looking a bit unstable at the start of the race. He might need a longer run to get some stability into it. Let's see what happened to him here. Just understeer. Man, not much of a correction required, but still, that's something that our championship leader doesn't need at this point.
Well, if anyone can deal with it, it will be Bo Albert, but one person who's loving it right now, Josh Thomas, purple fastest lap, absolutely driving away at the moment. Can he convert from here, Reese? He's looking very, very strong, and Bo really needs to get the head down. And look at, here we go, Wayne Burke right on the back of Tyson Broad. He's going to have a look here, but not quite there. Again, a very disappointing qualifying for Berkey, but looking like the race pace quite strong. And now we got a replay here of Lofthouse and that amazing side-by-side battle. Oh, a half look here on the Simprop car. That's Bilson ahead of us. Oh, and Bilson has the spin in front and grabs the arm pro here. So this must be a second kind of incident as we head into turn number 6.
Lofthouse just overshot. Oh no, actually, the rear went on him on the way into the hairpin. I think a combination of braking too late and maybe brake bias a little too far to the rear. Well, we go back to that fight for 5th overall with Tyson Broad keeping the Pro-Am podium for the time being. He does have Burke and Peterson up behind him, and I did see a little bit of a technical issue for Tyson Broad early on at the start of the lap, and a slight bit of oversteer on the exit of the fast right-hander, fast left-hander there, sorry. What will Burke be able to do to get past him at this point? As we said, it's going to be very difficult to pass here as we check a bit further back. Oh no, issue for Riley Bilson. He is having some issues keeping that car straight, and he is now under attack from, guess who, Martin Lofthouse.
Great to see them back on track, but unfortunately to see them so far down after their various exchanges. I think we're seeing that this is very much a one-lane racetrack. You get off that line. Oh, here we go. This is the chance for Berkey to try and have a look. Nope, still not comfortable enough to try and throw it down. He's definitely got the pace advantage, but unable to really set up the pass just yet. Pedersen unable to also put the pressure on Burke here, so he's just going to have to chip away at Tyson Broad. Meanwhile, ahead of them, the Pro-Am lead looking very comfortable for Corey Lazarus. And here we go, Simon Mazzomo side by side with Clark. Round the outside goes the Mez. He'll just about get that done, I think. Oh, he's not quite clear just yet. There we go. The Am driver sticking it to our Pro-Am champion from last season. Oh, but Mazzomo eventually comes out on top here. But what a great exchange here now into this fantastic right-hander. Ooh, a little wide from the entry from Mazzomo, but gathers it up quite nicely, Reese, as we head down this beautiful back straight. But it looks like Mazzomo's got that one done for now.
Yeah, it looks like it. David Clark, of course, current leader in the AM class, and there is second place right behind him, the number 82 of Stephen Tonkin, who has avoided all of the chaos here in the opening laps and worked his way up to 14th from 28th. That is a magnificent opening stanza from the AM championship leader. and definitely showing that Tonkin is the man to beat in that class right now. But he does have Pro-Am Aiden Coote right behind him. Remember, these drivers are all racing on track at the same time. They are allowed to race each other despite the class divisions. So I would say that Aiden Coote, he's looking for some overall positions. He wants to catch up to Mazomo in front because he's in the same class. But if he wants to make his way past these AM guys, he's going to have to be careful about it.
And he put on an absolute class move down at the hairpin there. Absolutely
Nice.
Beautiful. Great cooperation there from Tonkin, realizing that's not really his battle, not yet anyway. Coote also on the recovery drive. And we've just noticed that Bo Albert has taken half a second out of Josh Thomas, or has Josh Thomas lost half a second? Well, very curious to see how this translates. Bo back on a charge here. Oh, and big slide from Josh Thomas. It looks like it's starting to unravel just a little bit here for Josh as Bo Albert homes in on our current race leader, Reese.
Yeah, Bo ended up being the fastest car on track that time by 141.2 versus a 41.8 for our leader. Issue for Stefan Lawrence. That's in the opening corners of the track. You've got to be so careful to get back on the track there. Looks like Van Treek involved in something as well. Might those two have come together? We'll have to check back and find out, but Van Treek carrying quite a bit of damage to that car. I can confirm that Stefan Lawrence and Joshua Van Treek came together, but it wasn't Lawrence's fault. Van Treek actually got a bit of a slide on through turn 3. He exited turn 3 rather, and went straight into it.
Kind of single lane racetrack that we've been seeing. Once you get them offline, there seems to be no grip, which kind of makes, you got to put your hands together for the guys who have been able to hold the side by side that we have been able to see. So hopefully we can see more of the cleaner side of it. But yeah, unfortunately those guys coming undone. The gap is now under a second. If this were Formula One, he'd have that DRS, which would get him closer and closer. But right now the battle is on. The pressure is on Josh Thomas to try and convert that amazing start. But he's got a lot of work to do here. But if he's able to use the track to his advantages in for racecraft wise and hold Bo out to the marbles and whatnot, they might be able to stave off the position. Now, Linsell has also closed the gap on the Pro-Am lead of Corey Lazarus here. So, two respective battles for the lead, right on track, only a few seconds apart, Reese.
Yeah, and make it 3 if you want, Jay Kennedy says, because Stephen Tonkin has caught back up to David Clark. And oh no, that's Hayden Veld that spun right in front of them there. Synergy number 53 with, I would say, a loss of grip on the way out of turn 4. That's a shame for Hayden. He was in 11th when he crossed the line last. That's not going to be optimal there for Mr. Veld. But we check back in for the Pro-Am lead, and again, it seems like the car behind is working out better. That's what happened to Veld. Just straight up, too much speed. Rear end went across the gravel. Well, here is the fight for overall and pro. Bo Albert almost under a second now versus Josh Thomas. You can see how hard he's pushing in the braking zone. Hugs the inside of that hairpin beautifully. Let's see what the lap times are like this time around. Albert took 3/10 out of Thomas last time by. As they come across the line, it's a 141.9 for Thomas, and he was 2/10 faster than Bo Albert. So this is looking like a bit of back and forth between our leaders for the time being.
Yeah, and it's fantastic to see someone able to get on Bo's level, at least for this race. This battle for our Pro-Am lead has really hotted up. That gap was out to nearly 2 seconds towards the start of the race, but Linsell has chipped away. These ERT cars looking absolutely fantastic tonight. God, it's such a shame we don't have Matthew Bowler here tonight to be able to see what he can do up at this lead. But yeah, look at the wide line that Linsell's taking here. Oh, and Lazarus does the same thing, dropping tires into the dirt. You can even see in the background, Wayne Burke still unable to get past Tyson Broad, and he's brought some friends with him in the form of Bedison and even another ERT car in the form of Sebastian Flock. Oh, and he's wide. Burke's overcooked it here, and Pedersen seizes the opportunity. Now they're going to have to cooperate here for the side-by-side here. No, Pedersen does give up the position, but Flock smells blood in the water, Reese, as he starts to close in.
It does indeed. Well, that's the thing about a lot of corners, especially hairpins. If you're on the outside through them, you can actually get a slightly better exit. That's how Burke was able to keep the position. A tighter line on the inside for Pedersen meant he couldn't keep the momentum like Burke could, despite that mistake. So now Burke resumes that position. It has given a free kick to Tyson Broad. And we do see that race control is going to be investigating post-race the contact between Tyson Broad and Stuart Ellis. So looks like that might be a problem for Peterson and another problem for Hayden Veld. Looks like quite a few drivers just having so many problems with keeping these cars on the straight and narrow. Nicholas Garriich will take advantage of that position, move up to 11th overall as he tries to chase down Ryan Jones, who we already saw having some issues on lap 1. He was slow down the back straight to the dry sack hairpin, and that little bit of damage to his left rear might have a story to tell about that.
Certainly would. And over the Grand Prix, they had Sim set up with this exact combo, and I can tell you, everyone struggled. Even when people who had a sim racing experience were still really struggling with these cars. So it is a very difficult combo. So it kind of puts the emphasis on how much preparation has been done. You can say Josh Thomas has done a fair bit of preparation, likes of even Steve Tonkin as well, who've been absolutely flawless so far this race. Hayden Veld, by contrast, though, very talented young driver, but unable to keep it on the road. So I'm wondering if guys are using this for an extended test session. There's a big lockup here in front of Stuart Ellis, who is that ahead of us. No real consequence there, but there is a penalty there for, was that Stuart Ellis? The car
Yes.
we had on screen, 5-second penalty for contact with Sproul.
Yeah, indeed. They're working through the incidents from lap 1. They've deemed that there's no further action required between Aidan Coote and Corey Lazarus for the crash between them on lap 1. A racing incident, race control has said. Well, Tyson Broad now is actually been passed by Wayne Burke. Okay.
Yeah, finally he's gotten that done.
Yeah, righto. So we'll grab a replay of that because we did miss that change for position. Looks like Broad actually got a bit of a slide here through this left-hander. Yeah, he had to recover it, and Burke was like, thank you very much, mate. That's the inside, and I will take this. So this battle is now fully together again. Broad now having to fend off Sebastian Flock as they make their way to turn 5.
This distance finally paid off for Berkey, but unfortunately it's going to be potentially too little too late to do anything about Sean Linsell and Corey Lazarus still battling for the Pro-Am lead ahead of him. And now we've got more race control issues coming in. Alan Dawson on screen, a 5-second penalty for the contact with Ryan Jones, who we saw recovering earlier. I think we saw this car backwards as well, so he's had a very difficult night so far. And that looks like, is that Steve Tonkin behind him?
It is the number 87 of Martin Lofthouse, actually, a teammate to Steve Tonkin, and might be lining up a move into the hairpin here. He is a little bit later on the brakes, gets alongside at the turn-in point, and Dawson has to give him room there. Had to open the steering. Looked like a bit of a late move, but discretion the better part of valor there for the driver who just received that 5-second time penalty. Not much of a change for the lead, meanwhile. Though Bo Albert was faster on the last lap, it seems the gap hasn't changed all that much. 142.5 for the both of them up the front here, with Albert 200ths faster than Thomas. So at this point, with 8 laps to go, feels to me like it's going to require a big mistake from Thomas for Albert to have any chance at taking this win.
It certainly looks that way, and we haven't factored in any tyre wear. It looks like the guys have been able to keep the cars on the straight and narrow, but I wonder if any thermal degradation or anything is starting to come in that we might see towards the end. 8 laps doesn't seem like a lot, but it will be a fairly sizable chunk of racing to go, especially with these long loaded corners. That left front can't be enjoying the punishment. We can see that left front of Sean Linsell struggling to even keep it on the road as he continues to hound Lazarus, but unable to get within, that critical half a second to try and pull on a move race.
Checking back in with that Pro-Am lead. Lazarus, yeah, starting to lose ground here. to Sean Linsell. Also received a little bit more race control news. Lawrence versus Van Treek, that incident we saw where Van Treek got the slide on. No surprise to see that race control has deemed no further action necessary. And oh dear, that looks like quite the helping of understeer for Sean Linsell. It seems that front grip is the defining factor of this event.
It certainly looks that way. We just saw on the totem pole a change for the AM lead as well between Stephen Tockham and Clark. Oh, look at the correction. That's not what you want at that speed at all, but he's held on quite nicely here. We are on board with Sebastian Flock looking at Tyson Broad. You can see that's Wayne Burke just ahead. Look at the way Broad's car was squirming under acceleration. It gives Sebastian Flock a bit of an incentive to have a look into turn one, but there's just not enough straight race to be able to capitalize on a mistake. But there's another one that he can have another look at. But again, can he go in deep here? And he will. He makes the apex beautifully. Is there cooperation for Broad? You can see him flash in the rear view mirror, flash by. And there's Pedersen also looking to pick up the pieces here as Broad does cooperate with Flock, and Flock all nice and through now.
Yeah, good move there by Flock. That's similar to what Thomas did to Albert in the first corner. So now the focus moves to Ben Peterson as he tries to get a tiny bit of slipstream on Tyson Broad. Here's another replay. Overtake with Steve Tonkin now. Moving past his teammate on the way into the dry sack hairpin. Nicely done indeed. A little bit of over-under, but Tonkin has the inside for the next corner and will move on through. So another position moving past David Clark to get into 13th place, and Tonkin is starting to knock on the door here of Aiden Coote potentially, with potential for a mistake from Coote. There's been mistakes from just about everyone tonight so far. 7 laps to go, coming up to 6 now as they come up to the exit of the final corner, and the gap is now under a second by some margin between Thomas and Albert. Let's compare the lap times once more. Albert taking 3/10 out of Thomas on that lap, so championship leader on the attack. How will this work out?
That's a ripper lap from Bo. They've been lapping in the 42.4s, almost like a metronome for the better part of this race. Big squirm there from Josh Thomas, but Bo had put the afterburners on that lap to punch out that 42.1. Still not the fastest lap of the race though, but absolutely blinding for this period of the race. If he's got more of that it left in him. Oh, there's a mistake. There's a mistake from Thomas. Bo Albert capitalizes on the opportunity. Can Thomas hold on? Side by side. Is there any side drafting here, Reese? Down to the dry sack hairpin.
If I could describe this race in one word, it would be understeer. But Thomas is trying to defend from Albert. He goes deep into the hairpin, but he has to yield. Albert moves through into the race lead. We see news of a 10-second penalty for Stefan Lawrence. Unsafe rejoin that ended up taking out Isaac Edwards on lap 5. But, wow, that was pretty incredible there. The mistake that Albert was waiting for Josh Thomas, and we'll see what ended up. Oh, yeah, so that's what gave Lawrence that penalty, forced Edwards to take to the gravel trap to avoid him. That was some time ago, and this is now. Oh no, Sean Linsell, he was battling for the Pro-Am lead, and now, unfortunately, he's fallen back behind Wayne Burke and off the top 4. That battle is spaced out quite a bit. Linsell finds himself right smack dab in the middle. Here's what happened to him. This looks like oh no. Yeah, you get online for that double right. You have to brake and turn at the same time. And that's what happens when your brakes lock up. Change of position. Meanwhile, it looks like Tyson Broad has lost the place to Ben Peterson. The number 81 gets up the inside at the first corner, but Broad will come back at him here with an attempt at an over-under. Peterson moves across the track to defend that place. Don't know how Broad will feel about that, but Peterson keeps the position regardless. And now they have to think about the number 69 of Mikey Howanich. All of that battling has brought him right into the thick of this one.
Well, Mikey's had a very quiet race, and how the mighty have fallen. Broad held that position for so long. Then finally Berkey got past. The ERT car of Sean Linsell got past. Sebastian Flock, and now Ben Peterson has got the move done. Mikey Hanowick now lining up a chance at Tyson Broad as well. And, you know, the last lap, not a great lap if you're an ERT cast. Both of them spinning out, well, having issues with their respective battles for their lead. So here is the onboard here of the sliding circuit with Tyson Broad. Oh my goodness, it just slowly wants to get away. Look at the wheel work. That's almost a straight, but he's turning dead right there. Incredible car control. And Broad has still got the pressure. Another mistake must have come in. Hanowick now senses a chance of being able to get this spot read.
Yeah, he backs it up a little bit though, does Mikey, and gives a bit of time to Tyson Broad. I'll have to revise my earlier statement. It seems like there's no grip out there on the racetrack at all. It's obviously a very smooth track built and used primarily for motorcycle racing. But yeah, it seems that smooth surface is not playing nicely with the tyres of these Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars. Incident limit penalty for Stefan Lawrence, meanwhile. He is pulled into the pits and is out of the car. So it seems we won't be seeing any more of Stefan Lawrence in this race. See if he comes back for race 2. Broad continuing to hold off Howanich here. And it seems that in the first sector of the circuit, Howanich very strong. Broad almost touching the gravel trap, and that will give half a chance to Howanich depending on how the next sequence goes.
Howanich very, very wide there, almost going for a late apex, but the car simply won't turn. Oh, it just gets onto the gravel here. But yeah, we've seen all kinds of the cars misbehaving in all sorts of fashions. We even saw a car go from what looked like rear lockup instantly into front lockup and straight off the road. And I think that was Sean Linsell that I'm recalling earlier. But that pace that we saw from Broad, he looked absolutely brilliant before. We've got another replay here of David Clark. So these are our two AM leaders, I believe, on screen. Oh, they were. Oh, and just the slowest spin in the world, and then unfortunately collected. Oh, and does he rejoin? Oh, he gets out of the way quite nicely. But yeah, just such a slow spin, and then unfortunately got collected on the way through there, Reed.
That's a shame there for Mr. Clark. He moves back to 18th place as a result. 3 laps to go, and Josh Thomas has no response for him now. Albert's just driving away in the lead of this race. Can Broad continue to hold off Mikey Howanich here? You can see how the gap has extended to Pedersen up ahead. It seems that Broad, as the race goes on, is just having a worse and worse time keeping the grip up in this thing. And but having said that, the only place Howanich seems to really have a chance to get past him is in this first sector. So as long as Broad can nail that, he should be all right for the rest of the lap.
Well, Broad's had plenty of experience in this race alone of having to attack and defend in this section, so he's gonna make it very difficult for Hanowick. And I wonder if we're seeing the impacts of perhaps tyre wear here. Like Bo Albert's just skipping away from Josh Thomas. Broad is fading and fading quite fast. Lazarus has just dropped Linsell, but that was also courtesy of the incident that the mistake that Linsell had. But Pedersen also sort of coming into his own here. He's been very much the quiet achiever of this race and a comfortable P3 and driving away from Broad. So I wonder if the tyres have kind of screamed enough here, or if there are other things like track temperature coming into play with the difficulties here, Reece.
Well, we did see the temperature flash up on screen on the grid, and well, goodness me, the track is 42 degrees Celsius. That will undoubtedly be playing a part. If the track's over 40, then the drivers will be having some trouble keeping the grip up, and it'll be very easy to overheat the tires. Of course, these cars start pretty cold, and you do have to work to get some heat into the tires initially, as we saw on lap 1. But, oh man, we're seeing the tires just heat up and the understeer get on for these guys. Plenty of instability mid-corner I'm seeing as well. We just saw that happen for Josh Thomas. Meanwhile, Wayne Burke has actually fallen back into the clutches of Sean Linsell here. And it looks like Sebastian Flock might be looking for a position in the pro class, but he'll have to depend on Linsell being a little more predictable.
Yeah, It's interesting how this battle has kind of come to be. You've got some recovering drivers here. Lincell's been quick all night, and again, just that understeer. That's actually marred his race. It's not the first time we've seen that issue there for Lincell, and now he's going to somewhat come under attack from Flock. So how does he play this? Flock has his own championship and race to worry about. Does Flock fancy a chance at Burke, or are they going to cooperate here, as you called, Reese? Difficult to decide. Only 1.5 laps to go, so they're going to have to decide quick. And if they do, they're going to have to act on that situation quickly. And I think there's a missed apex there from Burke. No, that was my eyes deceiving me. But still, actually, Burke putting a little bit more margin to Sean Lincell behind Reese.
At this point, it looks like Flock is all over the back of his teammate. Of course, they're not racing for class honours. It looks like a slight mistake for Burke there on the exit of the corner. Understeer again. Will Lincell be able to find his way past Burke in the hairpin? He's a bit too far back to make a move here. You see just how early they turn in. The track's cambered a little bit on the way into that hairpin, so that's the reason why you see them flinging their way towards the inside so early. At this point, it's the final lap. White flag just flown for these guys. So any mistake from here will spell certain doom for any of these three drivers. Flock on the back of Lincell then turns in early. Lincell runs a little bit wide, and Flock has to adjust the steering a bit on the exit as well. But it seems like Wayne Burke might have this locked in. He just needs to keep it on the black stuff, and occasionally on the blue and white stuff as well, considering how much of the curbs these guys are allowed to use. There's no change in the battle for the lead, and it's not really a battle anymore at all, because Bo Albert is 2.5 seconds ahead of Josh Thomas. Once he got that lead back, he just kept it smooth, kept it clean, and he has been driving away. It looks like the championship leader will continue his unbroken record of race wins here, but he has a few more turns to go. It could still go wrong for Bo Albert at some point here, but he nails the apex of the fast right-hander, nails the apex of the kink as well. Just the braking zone and the final turn to go now for car number 1. Bo Albert will continue his run of race victories this season. The only driver to win races so far in the AOG Porsche Cup Season 7. And that is P1 for Bo Albert. In the pro class, Corey Lazarus is going to take the Pro-Am win. Meanwhile, a very strong drive there. Battled with Sean Lincell through the first half of the race and comes out on top. And it looks like Wayne Burke managing to secure Pro P3 there behind him as well. The Am class victory, meanwhile, is going to go to, this should surprise no one, Steve Tonkin. He has been magnificent in this race, and he is going to come across the line in potentially 12th. No, that's the lapped car there of Patrick Harding, but still, Steve Tonkin, Am class victory, starting from the back of the grid. That's worth something.
That's amazing from Steve Tonkin, my driver of the day so far. But that was a magnificent race. A shame that Josh was unable to. Oh, the victory donuts! Either a spin turned into a victory donut. Oh, you can't tell. It's the Porsche. It can do that sometimes. But look, a fantastic challenge there from Josh Thomas. But he'll be disappointed that opportunity slipped away from him. He'll finish 2 seconds behind our race winner, Bo Albert Reese.
Yep, with Lazarus on the overall podium, with Burke, Lincell, Flock, Peterson, Broad, Howanich and Mazzomo rounding out your top 10. And then we have Sam Sproul coming home in 11th place after starting 8th, with Aidan Coote doubling his positions and finishing in 12th. Steve Tonkin, of course, making his way up to 13th to take the AM class victories, joined on that podium by Josh Lane and Martin Lofthouse. And then, unfortunately, we have Ryan Jones rounding out the top 20 there with Riley Bilson as well. Difficult race for both of those drivers. Van Treek, Garriich and Edwards are your last finishers on the lead lap. Patrick Harding finished a lap down. Stefan Lawrence and Hayden Veld both retiring from this one. Well, we have a 5-minute warm-up to contend with. That means we have a moment to catch our breath and step aside here on SimSpeed TV. You're watching the AOG Porsche Cup presented by Bowler Media, round 4 at Jerez. Can anyone overcome Bo Albert? We'll find out soon.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
You're watching the AOG Porsche Cup here on SimSpeed TV. Of course, screenshots by Bowler Media on social media after every single round. Well, this has turned out to be an event defined by tyre wear. I'm Reese Gardner, Ross Rizzo with me in the comms box. Ross, we saw a comment from Hayden Veld after the race had finished. He had less than 50% tyre wear after the 10th lap. So, I mean, it really comes down to who can keep their tyres going to the end here.
Yeah, and that is some severe degradation. I mean, that's the halfway point, and you've chewed through half your tire. I mean, you do the math. You're not going to have much coming to the end there, so you can see why and understand why so many cars were struggling towards the end of the race there. Guys who looked really, really strong in the first half of the race, such as Josh Thomas, and just sort of fell away towards the end. So now we know what the meta is. I'm curious to see how they approach it, Reese.
Yeah, well, Bo Albert and Josh Thomas will be sharing the front row of the grid once more for this second race. And then we have Corey Lazarus and Wayne Burke making up the top 4. On the third row is going to be Sean Linsell and Sebastian Flock, ERT teammates. Let's see if they work together here with Ben Peterson and Tyson Broad. 7th and 8th, Mikey Howanich and Simon Mazzomo will round out the top 10.
And we have Stan Sproul and Aiden Coote. Aiden Coote had a spin at the first lap last time. Hopefully this one goes better. Our AM leader and AM championship leader, Steve Tonkin, and then Stuart Ellis beside him in P number 14. Then we go back to Josh Lane and Martin Lofthouse, who was involved in a lot of racing and excursions in that previous one. Alan Dawson, and then David Clark, P17 and P number 18. And rounding out our top 20 goes to Ryan Jones and Riley Bilson.
Starting out of 21st will be Josh Van Treek. He'll be looking to make up places after starting 9th in race 1. He's joined by Nicholas Garriott. And then we have Isaac Edwards and Patrick Harding taking up 23rd and 24th. And then we have Stefan Lawrence and Hayden Veld, the last 2 cars on our grid, our 2 retirees from the first race. And Hayden Veld being the one that was very vocal about those tyre issues. This is going to be a difficult one for the drivers, and looks like Bo Albert leaving it until the last possible moment to jump onto the grid here. Now, the way it went in turn 1 last time was that Albert went a bit deep in the first corner, and Thomas went right on by. We have Harding, Albert, and we also have Isaac Edwards on there as well in the bottom right, with Stuart Ellis on the bottom left. Good selection of drivers to follow with on Zoom here as we enter the final couple of seconds. Revs rising up the front of the field, and we're going to get going here for race 2 at Jerez. We are away. Bo Albert once again gets a pretty good start, and immediately Josh Thomas moves to cover the advances of Corey Lazarus. Into turn 1 they come. Albert does not make a mistake on the exit this time. He's not going to lose the lead, at least for the time being. Let's see as they fan out for turn 2 who comes out of the first sector with their car intact. Linsell keeping the position overall over Sebastian Flock, but Wayne Burke is pressuring him as it is on here in the midfield. Ryan Jones making up 2 spots. Bilson up 4 spots with the 87 of Martin Lofthouse now getting past. And oh goodness, Josh Thomas on the inside of Bo Albert through turn 5. Looks like he's going to take the race lead here. Another small error from our championship leader loses him the lead on lap 1, but can he hold the outside through Drysack hairpin? They bang wheels and Albert has to yield the position.
Fantastic exchange there. Thomas wasting absolutely no time to get back to the race lead. He's keen to lead this one from the front and hopefully convert this one and look from his lessons learned from race 1. Much cleaner race lap 1 this time around. They're still squabbling side by side though. Patrick Harding with, I believe that's Van Treek on the inside, and Dawson now rounding that corner up. Oh, and there's a car that's just locked up. Straight ahead he goes, and that is an ERT Evolution Racing Team car of Sebastian Flock. Fantastic work of race 1 undone in lap 1 of race 2, and backwards goes Riley Bilson into the sand trap. Oh, it was all going so well, and then commentator's curse came in. Oh, and there's a massive spin in the background there for another Evolution Racing Team car, the number 84. That is also Sebastian Flock. That's gone horribly, horribly south in the first lap race.
Yeah, oh, that's terrible. Looks like Hayden Veld's had a big issue as well in car number 53. Looks like Flock just caught the gravel and spun. Don't know what happened to Veld. We might find out soon. But here is Wayne Burke now under a lot of pressure. He's actually just gotten past Sean Linsell there, so he's going to try and march his way forward. Corey Lazarus holding on to 3rd overall still. And a really fantastic, consistent drive from car number 4 here. But Wayne Burke has a big train of cars behind him. Linsell, Mazzomo as well. He has actually managed to make up 4 spots on the first lap. Aiden Coote behind is up 5. We're going to have a replay on the bottom of your screen here of what happened to Ben Peterson. He actually missed the start there. He just completely did not get close to the power here when he needed to. sinking like a stone in a lake down the field.
Fantastic reaction from the cars behind, though, not to hit him. But yeah, so much work for Pedersen to do, and he's been pretty much flawless all season. That's a big mistake from Pedersen, but we'll see if he can recover from here. But he's got to deal with the AM leaders first, and he won't want to get tangled up with them too much as he takes off after the his respective class leaders. And here we go, replay of the lead change here with Josh Thomas. Just sends it up the inside. Bo leaves the door open, knowing what's coming. Fantastic side-by-side exchange, but it took him all the way down into the hairpin and even a little bit of hip and shoulder to finish the job here, Reese.
Yeah, certainly did. They held that side-by-side all the way down to the hairpin, but going in a little deep, the both of them. And then just a little bit of wheel contact left Albert to pick up the scraps and take up second. I'll tell you what, it's certainly not going to be over. Peterson continues on and will try to make up positions from here. Mazzomo, meanwhile, on the back of Sean Linsell, looking to make up an overall position, get onto the top 5. Out of turn 5 they come with, again, a little correction. You see how hard they're pushing here, but in these first laps, I think tyre conservation will be the order of the day. We saw how much drivers were struggling at the end of race 1.
And I think Bo gave us an insight as to why he wasn't interested in fighting that battle much at all, and would just tuck in behind Thomas. Meanwhile, the fastest lap of the race belongs to Tyson Broad. So he's trying to get on with it here, and it kind of shows that the pace at the front probably isn't quite as hot as it was at the start of the race. Stuart Ellis now on the screen here. He's got a bit of a margin back to Sam Sproul behind him, who's also under attack from the AM Championship leader, Steve Tonkin here.
Yeah, lots of close battling throughout this field in the opening laps. Here is Steve Tonkin, and he's ended up making up 2 more positions from the ones he gained in race 1, right on the back of Sam Sproul. Speaking of right on the back, Bo Albert is piling the pressure on Josh Thomas, perhaps looking to push him into a mistake, make him burn up his tyres again. Stuart Ellis with the fastest lap, just about, but Bo Albert, it seems, the fastest car on track. Lots of off tracks throughout that lap, which is why Stuart Ellis has been awarded the fastest lap there, despite not being the quickest driver on that lap. Patrick Harding having quite a few issues here at the back of the field. Jerez has not been kind to this man, and he is all on his own now and off the back of the field. He did make it to the finish in race 1, so he'll probably be hoping from this point that there's drivers retiring in front of him as they did in race 1, and he can pick up a few places from that. Isaac Edwards, meanwhile, top 5 in AM, and he is all on his own as well. He does have Riley Bilson behind him, but a few seconds back, so Edwards will need to pick up the pace here if he wants to gain any more spots. Back up to the overall top 3 then. Corey Lazarus still holding off Wayne Burke, and Lazarus is absolutely nailing the exit of that right-hander. That's the main reason why I think he's been able to stay ahead.
Yeah, Lazarus has been rock solid all night long so far. Now he's got the pressure of Wayne Burke, who's arguably been his fastest challenger, his toughest opponent so far. Sure, Linsell, who is only 1 car behind here, put up a great fight earlier in race 1, but fell away towards the end. We're seeing a big change. Oh, this is Ben Pedersen here, coming in for a pit stop for a penalty. What would that be for? Another fastest lap here from Simon Mazzomo. So the lap times keep dropping, but also a result of those incident points you called out earlier, Reece.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can tell you that Peterson was black flagged for the contact with Riley Bilson on the first lap. We did see Bilson off the circuit, and that was the reason why. So things getting even worse for Ben Peterson. Riley Bilson actually coming into the lane himself, and looks like that's a retirement for Riley Bilson. Also a retirement for Hayden Veld as well. Now you see the 9.5 car has no driver in the seat. Hayden Veld also has left his car in the pit lane. So that's a couple more positions for the likes of Patrick Harding. And now we'll keep our attention peeled to this fight here. Steve Tonkin having to face off against David Clark once more. Bit of puff of smoke up ahead. It seems like Sam Sproul might have had a slight lock up there. Oh no, actually, Martin Lofthouse off the circuit. He's actually just given up the place to Joshua Van Treek, who moves up into 14th spot.
Lofthouse had a bit of an up and down day, and so has this car on screen. So race one not going quite their way so far at the moment. Yeah, been a minute. Oh, look at how this wide line here, as he kind of just makes that kind of happen. I'm not sure if that was a mistake kind of turned into an opportunity there, or if he was just conceding the spot from there for Josh Van Treek. Look, he's right on the bumper here. Does he have a look here? No, he does not. So say he would be conceding. He's losing a lot of ground visually, quite a lot there. So I'm wondering what's going on in the number 9 car, right?
Yeah, I think Van Treek, he's been dealing with the same issues everyone else has, and he's been taking it as easy as he can, just trying to preserve the car. It looks like Ryan Jones here coming into the pits as well overshot his box, and he's gotten out of the car. So we're seeing more and more drivers here deciding to call it a night, because it's just proving really difficult out there.
And the early skirmishes is kind of very much ruins the night very, very quickly, with no real chances to recover, barring a safety car. But I don't think we'll see the McLaren AOG safety car here tonight. On board with Tyson Broad. Now, he faded quite fast towards the end of last race. He's hanging on quite all right in the top 10 at the moment, but he's going to have to make his way around Aiden Coote, who's also recovered from race 1 and putting up a decent fight here. Look at the ground that Broad was able to gain, and almost immediately lost it the next sequence. As you called out earlier, Reese, got to take it as 2 corners, and lots of gravel there on the left-hand side. Look at the bunch up ahead of us
cool.
here. Look at that. This is like a proper Carrera Cup race. When you see these things live, those are the kind of battles you want to see when they're really close and compressed like that.
Yeah, on board with Coote on the bottom. And yeah, speaking of putting up a fight, Aiden Coote's rear end apparently.
He wasn't letting that one go, but a fantastic mid-corner correction there from Coote. But yeah, these cars, they're still sliding everywhere, and it's going to be very difficult for this to continue. But Pedersen's back in this race now and has overtaken now car number 15. Can't see who that is. Isaac Edwards, who we saw struggling a little bit before. So Isaac at least has some company now. So if he can keep up with Pedersen, that'll be a great marker for him to see if he can do that.
Yeah, for sure it will. Pedersen would have had an opportunity to cool his tyres down in the pit lane, though, thanks to that tour through the pits, thanks to that penalty. Here is that 4-car fight that we were beholding into the hairpin. Wayne Burke still trying to get onto the overall podium here, with Corey Lazarus trying his best to hold them off. It's split off into a 2x2 battle almost, with Linsell and Mazzomo fighting over Pro-Am. Sean Linsell in Pro-Am, Simon Mazzomo in Pro. So that's interesting. We have a Pro-Am and a Pro, followed by a Pro-Am and a Pro. That's definitely not something that you see every day. The Pro-Am cars have definitely come to the fore here at Jerez.
During qualifying, the Pro-Am cars absolutely showed up the pros, but now the pros using their experience and their racecraft to sort of come through here. Oh, my son Mazzomo, he could have parked the bus in between the apex there, so he's struggling to get on there. But we know he's quite handy at these cars, so if he's struggling at these cars, and we've also seen Bo Albert make a couple of mistakes. Yeah, you can tell how difficult it really is, Reed.
Yeah, speaking of difficult, how about the dilemma of Josh Thomas right now, up in the lead of the race? He does have a bit of an edge over Albert at the moment, but again, I get the sense that Albert is doing what he did in race 1 and just saving his tires. He's not driving at his maximum pace, is our championship leader. And Thomas, meanwhile, is driving the wheels off that thing, trying to stay in front, so we might see a change for the lead soon. Battles continue here, but now it seems we've assumed the single file that every driver was expecting coming into this round. Once we've gotten into the rhythm of the racing here, I think a lot of them have realized, yeah, I've got to look after my tires. I can't afford to push too hard. I can't afford to race too hard.
We've got a replay coming in here of Stuart Ellis, who we saw has a live feed for this race. Oh, a bit of rallycross across there from Tyson Ford and Stuart Ellis following suit there. Yeah, you're absolutely right here, Reese. And some cars. Oh, here we go. Wayne Burke now having a look at Lazarus. Lazarus, who had to go defensive on that hairpin. Now Burke has a chance at the inside here at the right. But Lazarus not taking no for an answer here. So he's going to try and defend against the pro driver of Burke. Berkey round the outside. No chance for a crisscross, but can he hold it there? He does. Fantastic exchange, and we see the same up at the front. Lazarus fights back against Burke. Oh, there's a bit of a touch there between the two drivers there, Reese. Oh, it's getting nice and tight here, but Berkey now sees his opportunity, and I think Bo out front with Josh Thomas looking like he's ready to fire a shot at the lead here, Reese.
Yeah, look at how much ground he makes in turn 5. Out of the corner they come, and the slipstream will be on. The straights here aren't very long, but you can do something with that draft. But defensive from the race leader. Albert goes round the outside. He can't do it. Meanwhile, Burke finally gets ahead of Lazarus, and there's an exchange for position behind between Mazzomo and Linsell. So now the pro cars are leading those respective two-car battles. Really good stuff there. A little bit of a leap up in the heart rate. Albert, he already had one go at Thomas. He's got a 100% win record this season to maintain, so he'll be trying his best to get by.
And certainly Josh will want to be the one who breaks that streak. Someone's got to break it at some point this season, right? And Josh wants it to be him. There are plenty of people lining up for that accolade. Looks like he's been able to break a bit of a gap back to Bo. But I'm curious with Bo's lines and inputs here, if he's just making pace in a different way, not necessarily conserving tires, but making pace in a way that's easier on the tires, if that kind of makes sense. Josh looks like he's a little bit more animated and aggressive, and it's making good pace, put him on the front row. But now it looks like in the race, it's not quite so good, but he looks like he's a little bit more comfortable at the moment. We'll see how that all unfolds later. And I just wanted to call out Mazzomo, who we saw made a big mistake earlier, was able to recover in less than a lap to be able to pass Sean Linsell, and is now attacking Corey Lazarus. Now, and Wayne Burke has sort of checked out from this group now, Ray.
Yeah, it looks like perhaps Lazarus was working his tires a little too hard. And that's why he's now fallen behind. We have another car in the pits. It's Ben Peterson again. And he's got a mechanical black flag, interestingly. So he's had a really massive incident out there, it seems. Looks like the front end is a little crumpled on that thing. And actually, it was damage he was already carrying. All right, Jay Kennedy has found the incident. It was coming into the dry sack hairpin, and he just loops it. Gets a little bit too much curb, and the rears spin up into the concrete barrier, and that has put paid to Ben Peterson's race. He becomes our next retirement. Looks like we've also had a redress ordered from Race Control. Car 014 of Josh Lane, redressing Isaac Edwards for contact on lap 8. So those two came together, and Edwards will have to retake that position. Looks like Alan Dawson has been the one to gain the most from this. He ends up passing Lane thanks to that issue.
It's a big redress. I wonder where Isaac Edwards has ended up as a result of that. Did he spin? There he is going through the screen now. That is a big penalty, and you wonder if that was maybe a time penalty might have been more appropriate there, because it's a big one. Now here we go. Here's the replay here. Isaac Edwards, the black car in front, kind of leaves the door open, and then just lazily gets in the rear of him. And yeah, that's where he's lost a lot of time trying to get its way through the gravel. Does he keep it straight at least? Yes, he does, and on his way again.
Well, that's a pretty big penalty for Josh Lane. Will he be able to come back from it? We still have 7 laps to go once these guys cross the line, and, well, Albert's not giving up, is he? Look at how he flings it into the fast left-hander on the way to the double right. This has turned out to be a pretty incredible race for the lead between these two. It looks quite a bit closer than it did in race 1 as well, but if you run closer to another car, you know, you bring up your temperatures, you end up not being able to sight your lines as well as you could otherwise, and that could be factoring into the tyre wear of Bo Albert. Will he have enough to actually fight Thomas?
I wonder if Thomas had actually factored that in, because we saw he was in a bit of a hurry to get the lead from Bo. So feed him some dirty air, feed him some blind apexes and stuff, and see if that might help pay dividends towards the end of the race. Meanwhile, he will have all the clean track, all the opportunities to have those clean corners, clean lines, and tyre wear. But Bo now looks like he's settled in a little bit closer now. We saw that gap was closer to about 3 or 4 tenths. It's far, far less than that now. And Mizomo's gone off the track here. Tyson Broad just gets around him here, but Mizomo, who just... Oh, he's
no!
Go straight... Oh, my goodness, Simon. Oh, and there's a bit of a... Oh, big Constantina here, but that was a clumsy set of corners from those 2 cars there, Reed.
Ellis got into the back of them as well. He's got damage to the front now, and that's a little bit of irony there. Simon Mizomo and Tyson Broad fought tooth and nail for the Pro-Am Championship last season, yeah, now they come together on track, being in different classes. Mizomo tried to recover that as Broad went through, but yeah, ultimately that was a tap and could potentially be a penalty coming in for Simon Mizomo from that. Back to the race lead then. Car 5 leads Car 1, 6 laps to go, and they go through the double right on the way to the next double right here in the final sector of the lap. The next opportunity for Albert to get by will be the hairpin, but oh my goodness, they're pushing it so hard. Josh Thomas dipped a wheel into the gravel between those 2 turns, and he'll be keeping it. Oh no, he's overcooked it a little bit into the final hairpin. The leaders come together, but Albert backs out of it, and that's going to cost him a couple more tenths. Albert, obviously not too phased by that, but he'll realize that he has a bit more work to do. Thomas will not be letting the lead go as easily as he did in race 1.
Surely not. I'm curious what that exchange was. You can see Bo was talking on the microphone there. He's right. He hasn't wasted any time getting back onto the rear of Josh here. But yeah, Josh is doing a magnificent job out front with Bo applying the blowtorch. He's going to have to do it for another 5 more laps. So what, about another 8 minutes left of racing? And with how easily we can see these cars come undone, a slight pinch of the brake, a missed apex is all it's going to take for Bo to waltz on by. So Josh has it all to do despite having the track position right now. Look at the wide line from Bo, able to open up that corner, get the car stopped beautifully on the AstroTurf and ripple strips there, and you can just see it just helps just ease the car through the corners a little bit. It might be helping a little bit with the tyre wear. I know we sound like a little bit like a cuckoo clock of tyre wear this, tyre wear that, but look at this now for the AM lead. Oh no, and round goes Stefan Lawrence in the 82. He was putting up such a great fight there. He was lining up a move down the back straight, but unfortunately just too much rotation in the mid corner, and the round he goes, Reese.
Yeah, that's a real shame there for Stefan. But Bo Albert right on the back again of Josh Thomas. Too far back to get it done in the braking zone, but he's going to have a look anyway. Fires it in. And unfortunately not able to get the momentum through the second part of the hairpin. 5 to go. And coming up to 4 to go now. I'll tell you what, with the rate that Albert's been able to catch up to Thomas, you can tell he has what it takes to take the win here. But Thomas is putting on a really good defensive drive here. Some news as well from race control. Simon Mizomo with that contact with Tyson Broad. Well, Mez has been given a license point penalty for that one. It was a pretty egregious offence, race control reckoned.
Yeah, and it kind of looks that way. Tyson Broad on the recovery as well, the victim of that incident. But just looking back at that, it was very uncharacteristic, and I wonder if it was simply a misjudgment of the speed that he would normally approach turn 2 at, and simply missed his braking marker as a result of that, I guess, misconception of where he was on track. It just looked very unusual, very unlike the Mez to make a mistake like that. I just also wanted to call out the gap from second to third has not extended at all. So when Wayne Burke has a clean race, he's able to keep it with these guys. It also shows that Josh isn't quite unleashing the full pace of a 992 Porsche at this stage of the race. So what is Bo keeping on? Oh my goodness. It's a Simon Mazzomo again. Geez, this night's just gone bad to worse for our Pro-Am champion from last season, Reece.
Yeah, it's falling apart here for Simon, and unfortunately that happened all on his own. Just got a bit of oversteer as he came over the crest out of turn 5. This is the part of the race where tyre wear is going to be the ultimate deciding factor. There's just not enough tread left in the tyres to really give them the grip they need through these fast corners, as you see on board with Mazzomo on the bottom of your screen. Just manages to keep it out of the tyre bundles. But that is going to be another cut in the big stabbing that Simon Mazzomo's received in these last few laps. Defensive from Josh Thomas. Bo Albert tried to find a way past, but just couldn't do it. Only 3 to go now. And could this be the chance that Josh Thomas has to finally stand on the top step of the podium here in the AOG Porsche Cup? It'll come down to the exit of turn 5. Look at how much ground Bo Albert makes up in the mid-corner. That really tells the story.
Oh, the heart rate's coming up over here, Reece. I don't know about you, and it's got to be coming up in the cockpit of Josh Thomas. Bo is being relentless here, and I think those little looks are exactly what he wants Josh to do, to second guess his line. Should he have defended this corner, or should he have taken a narrower approach to that corner? We see him just darting and weaving just that little bit to potentially open the door. As we've seen throughout this race, it doesn't take much at all to size up the move, and if Bo is able just to rattle the cage just that little bit, he will be able to continue that win streak. But Josh doing a fantastic job. He's only got 2 laps and 3 corners left to do, Reece, but it's going to be the longest 2 and a bit laps of his life.
And no move into the hairpin, obviously. Albert too far back, but you see that Thomas knows there's potential for it. He went for the apex early, gets a great exit out. Once again, though, it seems to be the mid-corner where Bo Albert is strongest, where the tyres are at their maximum load, with Wayne Burke crossing the line again in P3. It looks like he might just have this locked up. Corey Lazarus holds on to the Pro-Am lead, and Sean Linsell is not too far behind. Aiden Coode having a much better race this time. He's back up into the position he originally qualified in. Have a look at this, Joshua Van Treek versus Tyson Broad. Van Treek is going to go defensive, but then, Tyson Broad sold him the dummy. Lock up for Van Treek. Broad is through, and Joshua manages to get it back up and running, but he won't be taking that position back. Here's the defense again now from Josh Thomas. Albert on the racing line. He's going to come through, but tried firing it towards the inside, but the car was there. Over under, meanwhile, from the reigning champion of the series. Another great defense from Josh Thomas. He's been able to keep his car ahead where it matters most.
This is a very creative way for Bo to try and rattle the cage. He's now starting to use the car to his advantages in the bumpers and things like that. It wasn't an intentional attack there, but he was trying to squeeze and hold Josh narrow to the apex to open the final part of the track, and it looks like he's been pretty successful there. Probably not in the way he wanted, but we're seeing him start to get creative here. We're seeing Bo on full display, so Josh got one more lap to hold up Bo Albert. Again, he goes defensive. He has no choice to go defensive, and here comes Bo with the late move. Josh just has the speed to hold off the attack. Oh, what a last lap we're in for here, Reece. Barney with the white flag. Can Josh Thomas bring it home?
Deep breath, here we go. All right, Bo Albert. He's deep on the brakes coming into turn 1. He gets onto the rear bumper of the number 5. Is there going to be an opportunity at turn 2? No. Again, you see Thomas firing it towards the inside early. He knows that he can't give Bo Albert an inch. Open the door even slightly, and Albert's going to kick it open if he has to. Through turn 4, they both keep it nice and steady. They keep it out of the gravel. Nicely done. Turn 5 is where Albert makes up most of his time. But you can see he's holding back a little bit. He does make up slightly a bit of ground in the mid-corner. But Thomas is too far ahead for Albert to have a dive at the hairpin. Surely he wouldn't try something from this far back. And he wouldn't. But he does make up a lot of ground in the braking zone. Takes a bit too much curb though. That unsettled him slightly. There isn't going to be much time left for a move to be done, and it's very difficult to pass in this final sector. It's going to have to be a move at the hairpin. Albert vaults it into the fast left-hander, and that's compromised him on the exit. He has to suffer a bit of oversteer. The only chance he's going to have now is the final hairpin. Take it easy, both of you. We want a clean finish to this race. Easy does it through this incredibly quick right past the center chicane. I think Bo Albert might not be able to do it. He'll have to count on a mistake from Josh Thomas, but it's not going to happen. Thomas keeps it middle of the road. Albert still dives into the hairpin. He's looking for every chance he can, but it's not going to happen. The streak is broken. Albert applauds his rival. Josh Thomas is your winner of race 2 here at Jerez.
Fantastic display from you guys. And there's Wadenberg taking out the podium. Corey Lazarus will make it 2 from 2 in Pro-Am with Sean Linsell in behind. Aiden Coote recovers nicely. And Steve Tonkin, once again, he started race 1 at the back of the field, and he's going to pick up 2 Ws tonight. Fantastic drive from Steve Tonkin. Wow, what an exchange for the lead there. That was absolute class from both drivers. A bit of contact, but that's what you want to see. Racing can be a contact sport at times. That was absolutely beautifully done from Josh Thomas. A bit of a subpar burnout there. We'll see him have another crack at that. But there's Bo giving him all the congratulations he deserves. Fantastic display, you two.
Here we are. That's better. Getting some smoke up. Yeah, that's the kind of battle that I've been waiting to see all season, really, for the race win, because Albert has been so incredibly dominant. You'd forget that there's drivers trying to take wins from him, but Josh Thomas finally the one to break through and show Albert that maybe this championship isn't going to be as easy as anyone feared. They are the top 2, with Wayne Burke finishing 5.5 seconds behind. Corey Lazarus, Sean Linsell and Aiden Coote are your Pro-Am podium, with Sam Sprills, Stuart Ellis 7th and 8th. Steve Tonkin, of course, finishing in the top 10 to take the AM victory. Again, a magnificent drive from the number 82. With Tyson Broad coming home in the top 10, not a bad effort, all things considered.
And then in 11th place, Joshua Van Treek, who had an adventurous race, but comes home in a decent spot of 11th place. David Clark will pick up 2nd place for the AM class, and Lofthouse will close out that podium. Sebastian Flock had a lot of issues here in race number 2. Great pace all night, but unfortunately came undone. Then Nicholas Garoich and Simon Mazzomo, an uncharacteristically clumsy race for the Mez. Then in 17th, it's Stefan Lawrence. 18th, Joshua Lane. 19th, the recovering Isaac Adwoods. And in 20th place was Alan Dawson.
Finishing in 21st, Ben Peterson with 2 trips to the pit lane. Patrick Harding, again a lap down. It was not a good night for the number 93. Hopefully he'll have better luck at future rounds. We have Ryan Jones, Riley Bilson and Hayden Veld all retiring from this race with various issues. Tyre wear definitely not being the bottom of the list. Oh, what a round it was. And we have Bo Albert joining us in the comms box. Well, the streak has been broken, Bo. Still got your win in race 1, but man, that was a titanic battle between you and Josh Thomas in race 2.
Yeah, absolutely. That was awesome fun. I'm absolutely exhausted. Yeah, what can I say? That was a great race. I don't think I've ever forced that many mistakes out of another driver. Sorry, Josh. But not being able to capitalize on it. That was so frustrating. But he put the car in the right spot. There was one moment where he locked up and cut across my nose and gave me a 4X, so naughty. But look, fair racing, hard racing. I don't think I've sweat this much in ages, so credit to him. Well done for breaking the streak.
It was all about tyre wear here at Jerez. It seems, a very smooth motorcycle-type circuit combined with the heavy tyre wear of these cars resulted in a lot of tyre management required for success here.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a couple of practice runs yesterday just to sort of get a feel, and it caught me out in the first practice run I did. I was like, holy cow, this is sliding everywhere. And that, I think, is the credit to why I got race 1 victory, because, of course, Josh sort of flew off into the distance a little bit at the start, burnt his tyres, and because I knew about managing them, I managed to bring it back. So that's probably why I won race 1. Unfortunately, he learnt his lesson for race 2, and yeah, managed to get the win over me. But what a combo! Like, Porsche really struggles with the long sweeping corners, and Jerez is all long sweeping corners. So in terms of a challenging combo, this might be the worst of the season in terms of us drivers having to fight the car.
Well, either way, it is, in terms of individual race wins, 100% win record no longer stands, but we've just been told that you win the round thanks to the bonus points for pole positions. So, championship's still looking good from here.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's nice having that sort of championship lead to not think about the championship too much at the moment. I can sort of have a bit more fun in these races. But I did remember the bonus points in qualifying, and that did play into my mind a little bit, because I don't know if you guys knew about incident points or anything, but on lap 14, I hit 19 incidents, and the incident limit is 20. So I had to be very, very careful with how I raced Josh. So I had to tone back the aggression a little bit, but I still wanted to win, man. So I still gave it a crack. He got the better of me, but yeah, the bonus points played into my mind, so I'll take the round win anyway.
Good stuff, Bo. Anyone you'd like to thank for your podiums tonight?
Just a shout out to the guys at AOG, you guys at SimSpeed for the awesome broadcast, and screw it, shout out to Josh as well. That was great racing. Overall, very clean the entire night, so great to have that sort of battle at the front. So cheers.
All right, that's Bo Albert there, round winner here at the Circuito de Jerez, and we have our race 2 winner in the box with us. Ross Rizzo's going to have a chat to Josh Thomas about finally breaking Bo Albert's victory duck.
Josh Thomas, congratulations on a magnificent evening and that spectacular race 2 win. How did you do it? He applied the blowtorch, he threw everything but the kitchen sink at you, yet you managed to hold on, and he was just saying himself, he's never been able to force so many errors out of a driver, yet not been able to make the pass. So magnificent accolade from the man himself. How did it feel in the driver's seat tonight, Josh?
It was, hey guys, it's stressful. The first race 1, I went a bit hard early and baked my rear tyres and just couldn't hold off. And then in that second race, I knew he was going to be there the whole time. I just tried to not drive in the rear view mirror and just head down, ass up. And yeah, like I said, he was there the whole time. But yeah, thankfully it was aggressive defending, but I think it was a good race in the end. Bit of you gave me a bit of training on that, Ross, a while back. We used to have some good battles with the whole defending type thing, so a bit of experience helped.
For sure. Thanks for that shout out. But yeah, that was all on display here tonight. We saw fantastic pace in qualifying as well, just 400 separating. Did you fancy your chances going in tonight, and did you think there was a better lap in it for pole position?
I've never actually gelled with the track so much in my whole time. I wish I gelled like this every week, but bought the track and just, I don't know, the thing was hooked up. The ERT setup was awesome. Pracky, all those, like, we were super fast and consistent. And then, yeah, in quali, I definitely think I had a better time in it, but I guess, like I said, I didn't put pen to paper when it mattered, so he got me by a little bit. But yeah, I definitely think it was in it, but I'm sure he's saying the same thing. He probably had a few tenths, so it was close.
Great stuff. Any shout outs you'd like to make?
All the ERT guys, especially Sean and Brenton, absolute legends, and yeah, best teammate to have. Sean, he's an awesome bloke. So yeah, thanks to all the ERT guys, Logitech, and yeah, appreciate the kind words.
Thank you very much, Josh. So that was our race 2 winner. Race 1, second place, almost got pole position. Fantastic race from Josh overall. And now we have Corey Lazarus, our Pro-Am winner, here with Reese.
Indeed. Congratulations, Corey. That is a double victory for you in the Pro-Am class, and getting on the podium in race 1. Very successful round for you.
Thanks, guys. I didn't expect it. I really didn't gel so well with the track this week. Not really one of the faves, so it was a bit of a surprise, but yeah, absolutely take it.
Yeah, indeed. Can you go into a little more detail about, the kind of problems you were having? Because, I mean, we saw most of it from the comms box, just struggling with the car rotating through the corner and the general lack of grip and the tire wear and whatever. But what was it like for you, in specific terms?
Just the unfamiliarity of, I think, not doing too many laps around it. Sort of only bought it this week and didn't do too many laps practice, and it just felt like an ice skating rink during practice. Struggled a little bit to find a half decent setup, so I took a lot of camber out of the rears to try and preserve them, and I think it helped a little bit, particularly in the quali setup, but it just felt like a ice skating rink all week.
Well, regardless, it was some good battling for you for the overall podium and then fourth place with the likes of Wayne Burke, Sean Linsell, etc. So, in spite of all of that, the racing still turned out pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. And, the goal was just to finish in front of Sean and Tyson because they're the championship protagonists with us. So, that feature race, I sort of wanted to stay with Wayne, but he's a lot quicker than me, so it wasn't worth trying to battle and have an incident and lose points. So, yeah, just to finish up in front of Sean and Tyson was the goal. Tick the box.
Indeed. Well, success for you here at Jerez. Who do you have to thank for it?
Oh, AOG for sure, putting on an awesome league, and the guys on the grid pretty much all keep the racing clean. So it's really nice to be involved in a league where you have respect on track and guys give you racing room most of the time. So yeah, big thanks to the guys on the grid and AOG.
Thanks very much for joining us, Corey Lazarus, Pro-Am winner of the round. And, once again in the comms box, we have our AM winner, Steve Tonkin. Ross is going to have a chat to him about his event.
Steve, you are running away with this AM title. Was this charge from the back of the field potential chance to see what the other competitors can do, a little bit of a disadvantage, or was there a problem during qualifying tonight?
No, Dadloff got in the way of that one tonight, so unfortunately didn't get a chance to qualify, but it looked like it worked in my favour tonight. But it was always going to be tough. I just got lucky in that first race, I think, with a few incidents ahead and just kept the nose clean and drove it outside.
I'm not sure lucky is the word, because the theme we've heard and seen from tonight is to do with the preparation, with the tyre wear and how the car evolves over the stint. And your car looked one of the more planted ones, despite only being AM in the AM class. We saw Pro-Ams and Pros alike having a lot of issues here, but it looks like the preparation for yourself, whatever you did, seemed to work. How did the preparation go?
Yeah, the other JWM boys, we sort of got together and had a look at it, and we just worked on the setup a little bit and just took a bit off it from some other tracks just to help us get through, because we thought it might be tough. But tyres are really good in race one. They were I think I was gaining on some of the other guys ahead still. They were dropping off, but that second race, a few mistakes from a lot of people. I think a lot of people cooked tyres in that one, so it was getting pretty hairy out there.
Great stuff, Steve. So what are your thoughts for the final leg of the championship? I know we're not quite halfway. The championship looks pretty good at the moment. How do you think you're going to approach the rest of the championship?
It's pretty much the same as the first half, like just each race as it comes. Not looking at the championship, just enjoying the racing. It's good fun, and just learning it and enjoying it. It's awesome. It's great fun.
Brilliant. Now, floor is yours for any shout-outs.
I'd like to thank AOG, SimSpeed, JWM guys, TW Engineering, Tough Customs, TCR Fab, and teammates for a good one tonight. It was good, great fun.
Brilliant work. Thank you very much, Steve. So that was our our AM winner. Jeez, I might have to have a pro label on him at some point soon. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. But speaking of round the corner, Belle Isle for round 5. We go to the United States, Reese. What a picturesque place that's going to be, and what a round.
Yeah, I'm rubbing my hands with glee at the prospect of racing at Belle Isle. Very tough street circuit in Detroit. Got a little bit of flow to it, but also plenty of right angle corners, big curbs, and concrete walls lining the track at all places. So if you thought it was chaos on lap 1 here at Jerez, well, just wait till you see Belle Isle. You'll be able to catch that 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, the 8th 18th of April. We hope to see you there. Thanks very much, everybody, for watching. We want to thank the crew at AOG for bringing us on to broadcast this league, and also to Bowler Media for being the official media partner of AOG and their series. I'm Reese Gardner, Ross Rizzo with me in the comms box, and Jay Kennedy on production. Make sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube and follow us on all of our socials. SimSpeed TV says goodbye for now.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.